Hey, welcome back, Adventure Moto Southwest. Today we're talking about the Yamaha XT250, and we'll be answering the question, is it the ultimate light adventure bike, or is it just too small for that sort of thing? I've also taken it on the New Mexico BDR and driven it across multiple states, so we'll talk about how it does for that sort of thing. Now, despite the awful thumbnail for this video, there are indeed some compromises and flaws that come with this bike, so let's get into all that. If you're new here, my name's Patrick. This is Adventure Moto Southwest. I'd appreciate your support by giving the video a like, and if you find it helpful, please consider subscribing. Or don't. It's up to you. I just do this for fun anyway. Let's get into the video.
Alright guys, so I figured might as well review this bike while we're at someplace awesome. So currently we are here in Section 5 of the Backcountry Discovery Route, which if you haven't heard about it before, Backcountry Discovery Route, BDR, is an organization that puts together these routes throughout various states of the United States, and they have, I want to say, gosh, I don't even know, maybe 14 routes already put together, and it's like mainly off-road, and they have, the main route is always stuff like this, like 2-track, nothing too technical, but you know, it's off-road. It might get up in there in altitude like we are now. But then they have expert sections as well, like we did a couple yesterday, where that's definitely a lot tighter turns or more rocky or things like that. So those are optional, but they always have workarounds. Anyway, that's a little bit about the Backcountry Discovery Route. We're actually just outside of Reserve, New Mexico, which is in the Gila National Forest. I've had this bike now on sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5 of the Backcountry Discovery Route. And it's been really great for this type of thing, mainly because it's light. I'm going to go ahead and put the specs up on the screen so you can reference those if you'd like. But I'm going to say the main thing is the seat height. Because the seat height's low, and actually lower than most dual sports in this class, it actually it makes it really approachable to riders of all skill levels, but particularly beginner riders. And this is just a little bit about where I'm coming from as an off-road rider and as a motorcycle rider, so you can understand my perspective. I've been riding about 18 years now. However, like 90% of that has, maybe 95% of that has been, maybe like 95% of that has been on road. Just little trips here and there, commuting a lot around town, weekend trips, but all predominantly on road. So I've only been doing off-road for probably about 3 or 4 years now, so I do consider myself a beginner for off-road. I know enough about it to like understand where my mistakes lie, but I'm still working on those things. Like I put my feet down too much, you know, working on technique in the sand, trying to weight the back tire and just keep my speed up. But so I'm aware of all those techniques and I'm working on them, but I don't always observe them just because I'm building those skills still. So that's just kind of like the perspective I am as a rider. So yeah, that's going back to the seat height. That's one of the biggest appeals of this bike to me. It's one of the reasons I chose it, and its availability. Ooh, look at this view. XT250s are usually pretty plentiful and approachable in terms of cost, and so for me it's a great tool for the job. You know, when you choose a motorcycle for things like this, you got to compromise one of two ways. You got to compromise your highway riding to have something lighter and more capable off-road like this, but then, you know, it's not as fun on the highway. You can have the wind blow you around a little bit, or it just can't go very fast and you're just kind of, you know, at the top of what the engine can do. Or you can compromise the other way and just get something super purpose-built for stuff like this. My buddy up in front of me is on a Yamaha XT250, and like it is like so good at this stuff, especially the way he has it spec'd out. But it's a lot heavier. Now he handles it well, so it's worth mentioning that. But But yeah, heavier ADV bikes, you know, you pay for it a little bit off-road. So that's the trade-off I lean towards, is the lighter side of things. But once I build my off-road skill, maybe I'll go to a more heavier adventure bike. I mean, I have an Africa Twin, I own one, but I'm currently using it as a mostly road bike and occasional dirt road to get to the campsite type bike. So, you know, I'm not using it the way it's meant to be. You know, go ahead and roast me in the comments. It's all good, whatever. But I like that bike, so I can, and that's mine. I can use it however I want. So I commute on it a lot too. It's got the DCT, which I love for commuting. So anyway, this is my bike of choice for stuff like this. So I'll give you the backstory now on this bike, just to give you the context of how much it's enabled me to see places. So, you know, I don't claim to be some advanced rider, even on road at all. Always learning, always a student with this stuff. But, you know, the furthest I had made it prior to purchasing this bike, furthest I had made it out of Albuquerque, the Albuquerque area where I live, was I think I'd been down south a couple hours, Silver City, you know, a few hours south, just north of Santa Fe, a couple hours north of Albuquerque. Nothing too crazy. But then I got this, and this bike, actually, I came across it on Craigslist. It was, woo, big bump. 11 inches of ground clearance. I think it's 11. Just paid off. So it was listed for sale in Ouray, Colorado. Ouray, I don't know how to say it. If you know Colorado people, help me out. I think it's maybe Ouray, but I'm not sure. Anyway, way up in the mountains by Silverton. And the thing that attracted me to this bike was that it was like purpose built. Like it was turnkey, ready to go for light ADV use. It had all the specs. It had the tank bag. It had the hand grip, or the hand guards done. It had the all these things. So I was like, man, I really want that one. And the price was reasonable. So I drove up there with my wife, took the car, and then took my gear with me, and I rode it back from all the way up there. Took the long way around the mountains too, because it was still snowing up there in May. So I was like, new bike to me, better take the long way. So it was a long ride back to Albuquerque. I went through the out by Shiprock and all that, and made it to Albuquerque, and then immediately rode it all the way down to Del City, Texas. So I went across the whole state in about a week. So within a week, I had already taken it way further than anything I had had previously, because when I get to a cool place, like a new place, I see a dirt road, and I'm like, I feel like I can conquer it. I can pretty much handle just about anything on this, even if I go slow. I'm not worried about it. So yeah, this bike's taking me further than anything else, and it's like the least capable in terms of engine size and all that. So that's why I like it. I'm into small bikes now. I've had a Versus 1000. I have my Africa Twin as well, Harley Sportster as well, and you know, those are all big bikes over 1,000 cc's. I don't know if the Harley counts though, because of the way it's geared, but anyway, yeah, this bike I have the most fun on. I also love it for commuting too. I have bags and all that, but I have the most fun on it, and definitely enjoy riding it the most. Someone forced me to pick one bike to have out of the Africa Twin, the Harley Sportster 48, and this, it'd be this, hands down, because this bike does everything, and it's relatively comfortable with the way I have it set up with the Airhawk seat pad and all that, and the heated grips for the cold weather. So yeah, this would be my one bike. Let's talk about how it handles, and then we'll get into the modifications on it. So let's start with the bad. Highway, it's light. I don't get blown around all that much, as much as I would expect to be, and I've ridden in high winds with this on the highway. It's not terrible, but yeah, it definitely, it definitely gets, it's pretty light, so you do feel it. The main thing is though that there's no bike out in front of me, not just windscreen, but like some bikes actually that extend up higher, and you actually see a lot of the bike in front of you. So, you know, I'm just getting blasted by the wind from the front. So that's the thing. And then, of course, as far as speeds, I can comfortably get to 65, maybe 68. If I'm heading downhill, then I can get 72, 75 maybe. And if I'm going uphill, you know, it's nice if I can get to 60, but usually 55. So, yeah, you know, that's the thing. I have to plan my routes accordingly. I'm not trying to be on interstates in general as a motorcycle rider. I don't mind them, but it's not like my preferred place to be, even on bigger bikes. So it's not fun on this one, unless it's like an in the city type interstate where it's down to 65 miles an hour. But, you know, 75, that's not going to happen. So I'm in the right lane with the RVs and all them going slow. It's fine though, you know, it can be done. It crawls over stuff like this, so off-road. It's a tractor. That's the thing. You know, I'm in second gear, and there's enough torque there as well. But yesterday we were in some really rough, rocky stuff, and I can just crawl over that first if I need to. And then in terms of, again, going back to handling and the rider triangle, how it feels, low seat height. If I really need to paddle out of stuff, I can. I try not to do that, but I certainly can. And the ground's always right there. And I've experienced on taller bikes where you put your foot down and uneven surfaces, and there's nothing there, and it's kind of jarring. But in this case, you know, the ground's always there. It's just so low. And for me, as a 5'11" dude, I have a pretty good bend in my knee when I put both feet down, which I can flat-foot it, and I have a good bend in my knee from that point. And then certainly when and I'm a bigger dude, 5'11", about 210. So, you know, that plus all my gear for camping, my clothes, my food. I have a gallon of gasoline on a Rotopax in the back, and I have a gallon of water in a separate Rotopax. So, you know, it's carrying a lot for this bike. So I'm definitely, you know, maxing out the suspension, but it's fine. I mean, I'm not bottoming out that I notice. I also don't think I'm necessarily driving fast enough to bottom out on things, but I don't really bottom out all that much, and if I am, I guess it's not bothering me. And that's with all the gear, and it handles the gear well. I barely notice it when all the gear's strapped there compared to when there's no gear. It handles it well in terms of engine performance and all that. It doesn't really compromise my top speed or my torque or anything like that. So yeah, it's pretty good. The next thing would be, you know, going back to the rider triangle ergonomics. Handlebars are in a good spot. There's some risers on here, I don't know if you can see that, but so that brings the handlebars up a little bit, about an inch or so, and that helps. It allows me to stand. The standing position is there, it exists, it's okay, but it's nothing like on like the Africa Twin where it's like you could stand all day on that thing, and it's the perfect position, comfy. Handlebars are nice and high. That's not really what this you can stand on, but it's not really like great. So, you know, I am a little leaned over even with these risers. I imagine without the risers it would be even worse. So keep that in mind. You know, you can stand, you might need some risers. So just to give you a visual on the ergonomics and all that, check out how it looks as I sit. Like I said, the suspension's a little bit soft, so you're definitely going to notice a dip when I get on the bike. So definitely really easy to flat for me. There's actually a slight bend in my knee. Also, my riding position here as I bring my leg up, this is where some people do think it's a little bit cramped, their knee being up close like that. Personally, it's not something that bothers me. When I turn the handlebars, it clears my knee just fine. It's not like you're worried about that. The standing position's a little bit low for my taste. As I'm riding, I do have to have a slight bend here where I prefer to be more like that. But I can definitely still stand relatively comfortably for some time. I do have some handlebar risers in here, but in the future I might try a handlebar swap or something like that just to get a little bit more height. But personally, I don't feel like this is a bad position to be in for off-road, but it certainly might be able to be improved a little bit. Fuel range was another important thing for me that I was looking at with bikes like this. Has, I believe, if memory serves, I mean, I have it on, I put it on the screen earlier, but I believe it's a 2.1 gallon tank, but it gets like 70 miles to the gallon or something like that. So I mean, I can do like 160 miles or something like that, maybe 170 before it's empty. And then combine that with the gallon roto packs, I mean, it's got to be like 240 or something in terms of how many miles I can cover. So it's great, you know, with the setup I have. It can go far, it's light, go fast, go far, go light, or whatever the thing is from Giant Loop. But yeah, that's that describes this bike. And I also needed something that could take 86 octane or higher, of course. That was the thing, because me and my friend Josh, who again is up ahead, once we were pushing it a little bit on my Versus 1000, and we were almost out of gas, and we were kind of in some isolated rural areas, and you know, we barely made it to a station. Luckily we were good to go, but man, I was thinking about how if that station didn't have, and that, by the way, that Versus required premium, so if that station didn't have it, I mean, I guess I could have put 86 in and it would have been okay for one tank, but you know, it's not ideal. So I was looking for something that took 86, 87 octane. Air cooled originally wasn't my preference. This bike's air cooled, so the maintenance intervals are a little closer together. It's like, I think it's every 4,000 miles. You got to check the valves. Not terrible, but you know, not as good as something liquid cooled where it might be like 8 to 10, maybe even 13, 14,000 mile intervals. So yeah, that's the thing with this bike, air cooled. And you know, I have to watch it when I get mud caked in the engine on top of the skid plate. I have to try to clean that out so that it can vent. But with that comes simplicity though, and I'm not worried about hitting a radiator in the front of the bike. All right, let's talk tires that it comes with. So this comes with the Bridgestone Trailwing 302, I believe, maybe 301. I'll put it on the screen if I said it incorrectly, but yeah, and it's like a kind of like a, I want to say 50-50, but it might be like a 60-40 leading towards pavement. But they are also by some people known as the Deathwing because they have some sort of, I think it's because of there's a high-speed wobble. That might be why. But I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong on why they're called the Deathwing. The thing is, they're fine. They're totally fine. Like, you know, it's an OEM tire. I don't have high expectations for it. So here are the downsides. When I'm on the highway and I'm going like downhill with the breeze and I can finally hit like 75 miles an hour, tiny wobble, barely, sometimes, just barely, and it's not all the time. So yeah, okay, maybe there's that. I just go a little slower and it's totally fine. But like, it's off-road, yeah, it hooks up with everything just fine. Like it hooks up with the ground, it connects, there's traction. Ooh, my buddy's dusting me out, I'm gonna slow down. Sand, the front tire does wander, but that's to be expected with this style of tire. Like, it's not a 90-10 tire. It doesn't have huge knobs on it, and so you know, it's gonna wander a little bit. But yeah, I've taken it in super deep sand, especially near where I live. There's really, really deep sand out there, and it's soft, and I can get through it just fine. So yeah, that's the review of the tires. They've been okay. They've lasted, I've gotten about 5,000 miles out of them, so you know, that's pretty good. If they weren't, I think there's better tires obviously for the price point that they come in. I think these are a little expensive. If I remember, they're about 130, and you know, you can get a lot better tire for that, so I'll get something different. But for now, you know, I'm happy with them. I'm a little worried about them for this trip because, you know, they're getting low. Like, they're really worn down. I'm still not at the wear mark yet, but it's close, and we still got hundreds and hundreds of miles to do on this trip, so we'll see how that works out. But yeah, so if you guys have any tire recommendations, I'm always looking. I'm considering maybe that there's that dual sport like gold standard combo that a lot of people recommend. I think it's the D606 plus something different in the front. I can't quite remember, but if you have any combos or specific tires you recommend, I am a true 50-50 rider because, you know, I'm doing stuff like this, nothing too crazy, nothing too technical. I mean, sometimes, but not all that much. Sometimes it's single track, but mostly it's stuff like this, and then highway to get here. So, you know, it's like definition of 50-50 rider. So yeah, let me know for dual sport what you got, what you like. You know, I'm okay with a little bit of traction compromise on the asphalt when it's wet, but nothing too bad though. Like, you know, I don't want it to be like completely unsafe, but I'm happy to go slow if it's raining and I'm on the asphalt. Okay, we'll talk suspension real quick. Yeah, it's a Japanese dual sport, beginner dual sport suspension, meaning very typical in that it's really soft. It's softer than most would like, and I notice it, and I get on the bike and there's a big sag immediately, and especially with my gear. That being said, so a lot of people won't like it, but that being said, I'm fine with it. I don't see any issues. It's a tractor in my mind, and I can tractor over things with that, and it's comfortable and smooth like that. You know, it's all good. Yeah, it's not a pro level suspension. I don't expect it to be, and I'm not going to sink the money into you know, on a dual sport that I got for a few grand. I'm not going to then sink in 30% of its cost of the whole bike into suspension. If I had something different, like my buddy has a T7 up there, and yeah, that makes sense. It's a bigger bike, so you really want to get it more purpose built for that. But for what this is, stock suspension's good. It's fine for me, and I don't mind a soft suspension too, because that's just a plush ride. But I know a lot of people like to really feel what's going on the ground, and I get that, and I respect that for sure. And you're not going to be accelerating real quick either, but you got the torque where you need it, especially for really steep climbs, and I've been in some pretty darn steep climbs with this thing. Alright, so now I'm going to find some sand and a hill so I can show you the hill climbs and how it does in sand. So this sand up here isn't super deep. I mean, it's definitely there. And we're sliding around a little bit. It does okay though. It's light enough that the front wheel is going to dance a little bit, but yeah, not too bad. Now, I will mention that I don't air down. For me, life's too short. I know it makes a difference. I get it. These are fun. I get it. I know why people do it, but for me, I'm all about like truly dual sport, where I'm on the road, then I'm off the road, then I'm on the road, and I'm just going back and forth so much. If I stopped to air down every time, it just I wouldn't get any riding done. So I don't do it personally. I understand why people do it, but so given my like stock tires not airing down, not too bad on sand. And you know, like this is super deep stuff right here. Worst case, I can stop, I'm not sinking in, I can paddle through it if I need to, or I can just kind of just go and it'll work. Alright, so here's a hill climb. I'll stay in first just to show you this time. I can tractor up this thing no problem. Basically, I just point it where I want it to go and it's going to do it. But I'll swing around here and do it again in second gear to show you that it has flexibility in terms of what gear you're in. It's pretty forgiving, and there's still a lot of low-end torque and power to get you up what you need. So okay, so I hit it again, second gear. Go a little faster this time just to show you. Second gear, here we go. You can just go power through it. There's never really been a hill that I couldn't climb, although like I said earlier, I'm not super adventurous with hills. I'm not like going up super steep stuff, but it works for everything I need to do. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of an acceleration top speed sort of test for you guys. So here we go, and away we go. Third gear, she's trying. Fourth gear. Got 5 gears on this bike, by the way. So 55, and we're in fifth gear now.
57, we are slowly climbing. 59. We got a headwind right now, so that is definitely a factor. We're down to 58. So because of the headwind that we're facing, that's all we're gonna get. I'm sure if in fact I'll turn around here and we'll do it again, and I'm sure I'll be able to go a little faster, but slight uphill and headwind. 58 miles per hour, top speed. Let's flip around. And 20 miles an hour, here we go. Second gear, third gear, fourth gear. See, we're already at 60 now. 65, 68, 69, there's 70, 72, slight uphill now, 73, 75, slowing down. So yeah, there you go. That's the top speed. It very much is dependent on incline and wind, but I will also mention that, like other similar bikes of this price point, the speedometer appears to read about 3 to 4 miles an hour faster than what is actually happening. And you know, the reason I think that is because, one, I've used a GPS app to test it and I got that result. Two, when I'm passing by, you know, one of those speed trap things that reads out your speed on a display, it also kind of confirms that it's basically the same exact 3 to 4 miles. I'm going 3 to 4 miles slower than what it reads.
So power is adequate for what you might need. It's not performance, but this is, again, think about it like a utilitarian tractor that you're getting that can do a little bit of everything, and you'll be happy. Don't compare it to a Tenere 700. Don't compare it to a KTM. You know, it's not a master of off-road situation. But yeah, I could definitely recommend this bike for sure. I think it's great, especially with the availability. I wouldn't trade it for anything except for one bike. There is one bike that I've been on the wait list for, like, for half a year now. It's supposed to be coming in soon, and that would be the only bike I would consider trading this one for. And when that bike comes in very soon here, we'll do some comparisons with it, and I'll talk about what that bike is and get it all modded out like this one. But until that happens, this is my main bike. This is my adventure machine, my adventure dual sport, and my ADV. My garage is all kinds of messed up. Like, again, call me out in the comments, I don't care, because at the end of the day, I know what the bikes are built for, but I also know what I like to use them for. And again, they're my bikes, so I'm gonna use them how I want. But like, here's the rundown. The ADV bike, the Africa Twin I own, that's my commuter. That's my also my you know, weekend trip on road. Mostly a little bit of roads like this are fine with it, no big deal, but nothing technical. Like in the marketing, they have guys going down sand dunes with it. That's great. That's not the average rider, and that's certainly not me. So that's what I use that bike for. This dual sport is the one I use as my ADV bike. So the, you know, continuing in the circus act that is my garage. And then the Harley's probably the one bike I use as a Harley. It's not a bagger, so I don't use it as a bagger. It's just a Sportster 48, and it gets used around town. And it's probably the least comfortable bike I own. It vibrates itself to death. It's still cool though, still like it. So that's my around town bike. Commute on it occasionally. Go to the coffee shop, you know, the stereotype. So yeah, that's what I do with that. And so yeah, welcome to my garage in my life. So like I was saying earlier, with that low seat height, there's no other bike that I know of where you also get like 11 inches of ground clearance. Because like a almost comparable thing is the Versys X300 from Kawasaki. You get a low seat height and you get a 300cc engine, but and that seat height's like this one. It's like 32, maybe 30 inches, but you get less ground clearance out of it, like 8 inches or something like that. And then like the CRF 300L, it's a couple inches taller. It's like a 34-inch seat height, but you get the big ground clearance. So, and then like the CB500X from Honda, that's another one where you get a decent seat height, but you don't get much ground clearance, and then the exhaust is routed underneath the bike, if I remember. I might be wrong on that, but either way, this one's both. This is one of the few bikes like where it's high ground clearance, like 11 inches or something, and low seat height. So yeah, this is a good middle ground. And I always say this bike doesn't make me a better rider, but it makes me a braver rider. For whatever that's worth, I can tackle a lot with it that I otherwise, like on the Africa Twin, was nervous to do. So yeah, braver for sure, not better.
So modifications on the bike, there's actually a windshield I have for this as well, but as nice as wind protection is, and as much as I like to complain about not having wind protection in the warmer months, I do love a little bit more airflow and a clear view of the road, especially when I'm off-road. So yeah, let's walk through it here. We have a little GoPro mount here in the front, which helps when I'm just getting some B-roll with heated grips. These are the Oxford heated grips. They have been amazing. They have a feature where if you leave them on when you turn off your bike, they do shut off, and set at 100%, they get much hotter than I need them to be. So this is an essential mod for me, especially because I ride year round. I have two cruise control options going right now at the moment. I have the Go Cruise sort of knockoff right here. This is from Temu, and it's been okay. I would say it's worth springing, for the Go Cruise brand. I think it does a little better, but this one absolutely does hold the throttle, and it's easy to adjust the firmness of this, of its grip on the throttle as well. And of course, I have the classic cramp buster. You can't go wrong with that. It's nice to have both options. They both work well for different reasons. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, I also have used the Atlas throttle lock as well, but I'm not a fan. It makes the throttle feel weird. It's heavy, and you can feel it when you're when you're turning the throttle, and there's a million little screws to install it. It does okay though, but also it's like $120, so I don't know, I can't recommend it. Stock mirrors have been amazing, no issues there at all. Tusk handguards, I like them. They've, actually I have not dropped this bike yet, but they seem like they are very sturdy. The only thing I miss about my Bark Busters and like about my Bark Busters with this storm attachment here is that they actually wrap around. And I feel like because of that wraparound that they actually protect from a wind perspective, like in the winter. I feel like that's worth it. Now from like tree branches and things like that, I feel like these Tusk handguards are just as good as Bark Busters. But if I had to go back, I would get Bark Busters for sure, and I'll probably go back. I'll probably stick with this brand for all my future purchases and whatnot. The Tusk Olympus tank bag. This has been excellent. I highly recommend this. Super functional. You got your little pouch here. I put like chapstick and earplugs. Very stable. There's a spot where you can run a cord in, so I can charge my phone in there. My phone does sit here if I wanted to. It also sits inside there, and there's a place to run your phone up, your cord up to that. And then also inside, just enough room for some sunglasses, keys. There's that phone charger I was telling you about that runs off the battery. But yeah, there's also a little spot up here where I use to keep like little Allen keys and things like that to make adjustments to this and other things that need it. So that is absolutely worth it. So I'm not normally a tank bag guy because I don't like how they scratch up the tank, but that's what this bike is for. It's plastic, and then this part here is matte finish. So, I'm not worried about it if it gets scratched. But tanks like this where I actually really care about the paint, that's a no-go for tank bags, especially on this particular tank, because that's what sold it to me, and it's like in pristine condition. So I would never do a tank bag on these bikes, or at least probably not on the Africa Twin. But okay, moving along. So like most bikes at this price point, the stock seat is not amazing. So I'm using an Airhawk. Highly recommend this. It worked flawlessly for like 3 years. Finally, it got a little hole in it somewhere I need to repair. But in the meantime, even without air in it, it's still massively more comfortable than this stock bag. So I recommend the Airhawk highly. I plan to get one for the Africa Twin as well. We also have some battery connections going on here. There's actually 2 of these right now. So this comes from the battery, and with this I can connect it to a trickle charger, as well as I can connect it to this second one, and this second one just runs up through the fairing into here, and there's a USB on the other end that I can charge my phone with. So that's what that's for if I want to charge. But yeah, that's been a really good modification for sure. Moving down the bike, I suspect that these foot pegs are not stock because they're pretty wide and pretty comfortable. So I'm guessing the last owner installed them, but you know, if any of you guys are familiar with stock XT pegs, let me know. But I really like those a lot. I can't see any brand name on them or anything, but I would imagine they're Tusk because there's a lot of Tusk stuff on this. Moving to this side, I actually have a question for you guys. My shifter, I am like 99% sure it is stock. And I'm definitely wanting to get something that is a little bit, can go a little higher, because when I'm wearing my motocross boots with this, it's hard to get my toe underneath even after adjusting this all the way. So if you have any recommendations for a good shifter, please let me know, especially one that, you know, works well with motocross boots. So here is the full view of the ADV setup portion. So we have the Tusk Pilot bags right here. I don't remember how big they are, but for comparison, here is the Tusk Olympus bags, and I have them on the Africa Twin, and they are, I think, 35 liters, pretty sure, per bag. They're quite spacious, and I wish I had those on here. And I know why people put these Tusk Pilots on smaller bikes. I get that, but I overpack, I know. But I like having my stuff, and I like being comfy when I'm moto camping, and so I would love to switch those out at some point. And then we, of course, on the top we have the Backcountry 40 from Moscow Moto, which is a really good piece of kit. Just to show you a little bit about that. So it actually expands quite a bit. So you open it up, you have a pouch for your documents down here and things like that. This right here is a tent pole bag, so you can put your tent poles in there as well. And then essentially you just undo this and you can unroll it, and it's waterproof, of course, and you can put all your stuff in there, sleeping bag and whatnot. And when it's fully expanded, like when you loosen these, it's pretty tall. It's a big, well, you know, it's 40 liters, that's why it's the Backcountry 40. So you can put a lot in there in terms of, you know, big sleeping bag for the winter, or extra blankets, you know, your tent. So, you know, this current setup, you know, I mentioned overpacking earlier, it's plenty. It was plenty for the BDR. It's been plenty for multiple day rides and camping trips. So I'm just saying that I would love to have a little bit more space, but yeah, it totally works. And actually it's kind of nice because it prevents me from overpacking too much. And then just come around to this side here, we have the Rotopax mounted underneath with its Rotopax mount on this rack here. I do not know the name of this rack. It was installed by the last owner, but it's rock solid. This Rotopax has been great. It's a gallon and very easy to get off if I ever need it. And also right here, we have the Rotopax for water installed on the inside of the bags right here. Also really easy to get out because all you need to do is just undo that. Take it off and then you're good to go. And I've also considered switching and putting the gas here, but the reason I put the water here is because I access that a whole lot more. This is all just in case, the gas. So I feel like it's not needed to have quick access to gasoline, but water, absolutely. So right now everything's full, and I've been riding around like that for a while now, and it's been great. So yeah, with that, I'll give you one more walk around of this bike so you can get a feel for how it looks and how I have it set up for light ADV work. I don't think I've missed anything here. This was added by the last owner. No idea what that is. My guess is Liverpool Football Club, but I really don't know. That's just a guess. If you recognize that, I would love to know what that means. So going back to that original question, is it the ultimate lightweight adventure bike, or is it just too small? For someone like me, a rider who likes motocamping, BDRs, longer trips, exploring new places, reliability and lightweight are at the top of my list. And of course, this comes from someone who doesn't have decades of experience in the dirt and who did not grow up riding dirt bikes. Yes, I do think it is one of the best options, especially at the price of $5,400. If you're someone who values capability off-road, confidence inspiring, reliability, and fun over something that's more flashy, has more power, or better highway chops, then this is the bike for you for sure. And it can be turned into the type of machine that can go ahead of the larger adventure bikes to make sure that everything's safe and passable ahead. So yes, it's a great bike. Thanks for watching Adventure Moto Southwest, and we'll see you in the next one.